When you're done with your shopping cart and no one is looking, here's a truth moment. What are you doing with the cart? Do you return it or do you leave it sitting in the lot? And what does that say about your retirement plan? Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to The Next Chapter Living with Stephen Sabo. Stephen is a financial advisor with Executive Financial Group, and you can learn more by visiting executivefinancialgroup.com. All right, Stephen, moment of truth.
Yes.
Are you a put your cart back or are you leaving it in the parking lot?
I am always putting the cart back.
Yay.
I wouldn't be able to sleep if I just left my cart out willy-nilly. So
I'm glad. It makes me feel so much better because that's me.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to think that I'm making a difference in the world because I'm putting my cart back and the next person doesn't have to do it. Though I always chalked it up to the fact I worked at a grocery store my sophomore year in high school. And I used to silently curse out everybody in my head that left the shopping cart spread all over the parking lot.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Hey, look, I even like to take mine back into the store if I got it from there.
That's bonus. That's A+ level.
But at the very least, come on, they put those corrals out in the parking lot. If you can't get it into there, then,
The ones that drive me crazy are the ones that they've left it in a spot next to the corral. I was like, it was 10 steps. That's it. You had 10 little steps to get it over into, and now I can't park here.
I know. We could do a whole podcast episode outside of the financial realm just on stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Just on our pet peeves about human behavior. But I brought this up because I think there can be an interesting correlation. People say putting your shopping cart back some people think it's just basic decency, as you're saying. But a lot of it is because it can prevent a bigger problem down the road. One small thing like putting your cart back prevents it from crashing into somebody else's car, scratching somebody's car, etc. And I was thinking about retirement planning, and there's a correlation between some of the baby steps that we take or don't take that can have a big impact on retirement. So that's my lead into that today.
Yes.
And if you're wondering why we're talking shopping carts, dear listeners, now you know.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. I mean, you look at, that's why they call it the snowball effect, right? Something small happens and then before you know it, it's snowballed and it's out of control. And just like the shopping cart, you can, bump into people's cars. There's all kinds of things. You're making more work for everybody. And, the same goes for your retirement plan. Doing one little thing can make such a big difference down the road, either good or bad. And so, it's so important. I think a lot of people get lost in the overwhelming kind of factor of retirement planning. And so they either put it off, they leave their cart, outside of the corral, if you will, and without realizing how big of an issue it can cause you down the road. And so I think this is a perfect analogy for it. I mean, there's so many little things within this that can really derail your retirement without paying attention to them.
I thought of that sort of psychological behavior because, I try to put myself in the mindset of oh, maybe that person is too busy. They've got kids, it's hard to juggle. But we make those same excuses when it comes to, say, putting money aside in our 401k. Oh, my expenses are really high right now. But the reality is if we don't do it, even when it's hard, we don't put the shopping cart back, even when it's raining or it's 10 below and then windy, whatever. The reality is we're not going to do it when it's easy and sunny. And
that's right.
It seems simple to do. And the same is true for some of these behavioral things when it comes to our financial situation. If we don't do it when it's hard, reality is we're not going to do it when it's easy either.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't put, the $25 a pay or whatever away, where are you going to come up with the 100,000 that you're going to need, for retirement? And so, it's certainly, and you do have feelings for people. Hey, this mother, I just watched her put 2 kids in the car and she's got her hands full. Or this gentleman is older and, he's having a hard time walking. And, so you have those feelings, but like you said, there is that kind of psychological effect to it. If you can't do something now, and we see this with clients all the time, and so we try and talk to them about these things. I can put together a plan for you, but if you can't follow some of the steps, or if you're not going to do some of the things, then it's really not going to work out for you. And so, taking that little bit of time to put the card away or to fund your 401k or your IRA or Roth, whatever it is, even starting small, so small, can make a big difference. And it's more about that psychological. Once you do it and you get into that pattern, you're going to continue to do it. If you're doing it sporadically or when you can, or when that big moment comes, you might not be ready for it or you're not ready to take that leap. And so I think that, doing that over and over again, I always tell people, pay yourself first, right?
Right.
You have bills, you have to get things done. And I get it. If the money that's coming in isn't covering those things, then the last thing that you want to do is, take the precious dollars that you have and put them aside for later. I understand that. But, at the same time, it's one of those things. I'm a routine person. Once I get into a routine, I stick with that routine. And once I break it, it's hard to get back into it. And so, I always try and tell people, especially younger people, but even clients, that are getting close to retirement, do these little things over and over and over and over again. And it's going to just become routine. You're going to start to live to the paycheck that you're getting after they take it out and put it into your 401k. So if you're not underwater in your, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then if you have that extra disposable income, do it. Do it now. Do it automatically. Have them take it out and put it in. Because if you have the option to say, all right, I'm going to transfer this, or, oh, look at that, shiny new thing that flashed in front of me while I was scrolling around online, I'm going to buy that.
Right.
So if you're going to treat yourself and enjoy your life, but if you're going to buy, say, a pair of shoes for $100, take another $100 and put it into your Roth IRA.
Right. And it's interesting how we will we'll make excuses on why we can't do the hard thing, and yet we will justify the thing that we want to do. And so then you really have to ask yourself, am I truly, truly unable to put that $500 away, or do I just not want to because that means I have to make some difficult choices and I'm not buying the $100 pair of shoes, or, taking the trip to the coffee shop or whatever it is that I enjoy and it makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation.
The clients that we have that, are the most secure are the ones that have sacrificed. They did those things. They put the money away. They didn't, and they did it consistently. And it's not that they were, earning $500,000 a year. They just were diligent about putting it away to make sure that they have something for later, rather than, spending now and worrying about everything later. I mean, it's nice. I do that. I have bought frivolous things in my life, sure. But I'm telling you right now, the people that we see that have been diligent about putting that money away and putting it aside each month, again, it's not that they were the highest earners or they had a crazy job or they had no bills or anything like that. They were just diligent about doing it every single month, every single pay, whatever it was. They made sure that they were putting that money away. And, everybody's always looking for the fast answer, the quick, how can I get 100% return in 6 months with no risk of loss? Well, if somebody's telling you that you can, you're more than likely, being led astray.
Sure.
It's a long-term goal. It's a long-term game, and make sure that you're sticking with it.
Well, and unlike the shopping cart analogy where you can have grace for, say, the elderly person or the mom with the kids, because ultimately somebody will come behind them and move those carts. We don't have that luxury when it comes to our retirement planning.
Nope.
There isn't somebody that's going to suddenly come rescue us when we hit retirement age and we don't have the funds in there that we wish we did or that we need in order to retire. There isn't some, magical retirement fairy that comes along and grants you, a couple extra million to get you through.
There's not. And even the programs that are there, Social Security, for instance, I mean, how often do we hear that it's going to run out or it may not be there? So even the small, tiny little bit that you may have, isn't always reliable. And like you said, no one's going to be there and say, oh yeah, here you go, Stephen, I feel bad. You spent all your money on shoes and other things. Here's $1 million to fund your retirement. It's not happening. And unfortunately, we've seen people that are in that position where hey, they would like to retire. And the reality is that they can't. And, I'm going to do everything that I can to help them. But at the end of the day, it's more about who you are as a person. I can set you up for success. But if you're going to, we had a client and she had some credit card debt. She came to us and, we're working towards retirement. And we said, one of the things is we got to get this debt paid off. It's all in credit cards. The interest is out of control. You're not making payments that are doing anything. You're going to have this forever. Let's take this chunk of money that you got from whatever it was. I can't remember. And we're going to pay this off. But then you need to stick to this plan of building up these things and doing that. And, a year or two later, she came back and she had, another $25,000 worth of credit card debt. And it's like, so,
you can lead the horse to water. You can't make him drink.
That's right. And so, I can sit here until I'm blue in the face telling you what to do, but you need to start somewhere. And, one step at a time, one little thing, $20 a month, 25 a month, whatever it is, one little thing, even though you may think that it's not going to do anything for you, I promise you after time, that compounding of putting that money away and letting it grow and do what it's supposed to do, you're going to see the results.
And that actually leads me wonderfully into the next question that I had is if somebody's finding that, okay, we've got some behaviors that maybe aren't leading me to the path of the retirement that I want, what steps do they need to take? What advice are you giving clients, such as the one coming in with credit card debt or their goal is over here at point B and they're very much still stuck at A? What are some tangible, practical things that those heading to retirement should be sort of tightening up the buttons on to make sure they can get to where they want to go?
Yeah. I mean, things like your spending. Sometimes you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody. And so when we sit down and we're working on this plan and one of the first things that we do is take a look at your budget. And, I'm not here to pick on anybody for what they're spending their money on. It's a numbers thing.
Right.
And so we need to, and we want you to be honest and open with us because then if not, we can't help you. Again, everybody does something that they don't like, right? But whenever we sit down and I say, hey, look, you gave us your budget and I noticed that this amount of money was going towards paying a credit card or paying for something. Tell me a little bit about that. I want to know about why it's, is it something that is, that you need? Is it something that you got yourself into a bad situation? But we need to address it, because if not, then we're going to continue to have these problems. And again, I can sit here and plan for you until I'm blue in the face. But if you can't change some of the things that you're doing, then it's not going to work out for you. And so, we want to take a look at those things and, we want to be realistic and we want to be helpful to somebody. I'm not just going to sit here and say, hey, look, quit being an idiot and doing these things. I get it. Life gets in the way, things get in the way. And so, we're going to talk to people about it. But, again, I want to be on their side. I want to be their friend, but I need to be truthful with them about some stuff. And so, again, we're going to work with them and we're going to say, hey, look, all right, these are the things that we need to cut back on. Right. In order to make sure that you're funding, whatever it is that you need to fund so that we can get you towards that goal for retirement. And so, we'll work with them periodically. And, I want to offer encouragement, right? Whenever you're doing something good, I want to encourage you to continue to keep doing that. Hey, great job. Look, you've gotten to this point, or maybe you're ahead of where you are. That's awesome. That's the momentum, that snowball effect that we want to keep going. We want it to go towards the good things. We don't want that cart rolling into the side of somebody's car.
Right.
It, right. So, you need to encourage them and you need to be able to say, hey, sometimes you have that conversation and you say, look, I can do everything that I'm doing, but I need you to do these things. And, I'm not here to fight with anybody. I'm not here to argue. I'm not, here to try and change your life. If you don't know what you're doing or, you don't know where to go, as much as we, kind of wear the therapist hat sometimes, at the end of the day, my job is to be your financial planner. So if there are things going on in your life, I'd love to be able to help you, but at the end of the day, I can't spend all my time making sure that you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing,
It's that character when no one's looking that comes into play in the same way that it does with the shopping cart.
That's right. Yeah. So
you could be in the parking lot by yourself. What you do in that moment
that's right.
between you and yourself.
Yeah. So, I think that encouragement for people when they are doing the right things is great. Letting them know, hey, look where you've gotten from doing these things. That's awesome. Let's keep this going. Can you add a little bit more? You've done a couple of years now, putting this much away each month. Maybe can we bump that up?
Right.
So I think that offering, positive reinforcement and encouragement to people is super helpful. Yeah. Everybody loves a pat on the back, right? You smile, you get happy. We talked about, at the beginning of this, the downloads of the podcast. And so to me, here I am, sleepy old Butler, Pennsylvania, not a lot of people. And you said, hey, look, your podcast downloads have doubled over time. And so to me, that's like, well, let's keep this ball rolling. What else can we do to get other people to listen to it? And so, that puts a smile on your face when you hear that good stuff. I want you to be able to come to me and say, hey, look, by the way, we got some great news.
Right.
And so the same thing goes for me towards, people's retirement. Hey, look at this. You've put this much money away. You've paid down this debt. That's great. Let's keep this moving. So
right. There is something to be said for those baby steps if you acknowledge them. And I think that is an important piece of it too, is we're quick to dismiss, I just put the cart back, or, it's just $25 I put away. But to your point, you have to acknowledge that you're taking a step in the right direction, whether it's weight loss or a New Year's resolution or any of the things that we talk about, all the time on this show. It's the little things that compound positively or negatively. And so if you're making the effort to have it be in a positive direction for that first time, reward yourself for that with a good old fashioned, pat on the back. Don't spend money to reward yourself. A pat on the back will do.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I know that so many people are overwhelmed by the big numbers that they hear about what you need to have or what.
Right.
Tune that out, take those small wins and say, okay, I'm putting that money away. I'm doing those things. Forget about the 5 million that somebody says that you need.
Right. I hit $1,000 benchmark. That's
perfect.
A step. Right.
Yes. I mean, because if not, then you're going to think of these overwhelming scenarios. I'm never going to get there. And then you're never going to do it. 1 foot forward, take one step, one little thing, and ask for encouragement. Hey, look, Stephen, I did this. I'm going to give it to you. Hey, that's awesome. Good job. Let's keep it going. So those are kind of some of the things that we do, or that I, work with for clients on trying to keep that momentum being built. Because at the end of the day, you're doing the hard lifting. I'm just here to make sure that everything's in place and that it's going to work out correctly for you. But you're doing the hard lifting. So
right. Well, maybe the next time they're in a parking lot and they see a shopping cart, they will be reminded to A, put their shopping cart back, and B, tuck a little extra money away for a rainy day. So we did 2 birds with 1 stone here today, Stephen.
Yes, we did. Yeah, if I see any of my clients out there leaving their cart in the parking lot,
you're going to hear about it.
We're going to have a talk. Yeah, that's for sure. You're getting a call from me. So.
Well, if you are ready to write the next chapter in your story or simply just start the conversation, you can do so by visiting executivefinancialgroup.com. Click that contact us button to get the ball rolling. And of course, if you found this episode helpful or amusing, we like to think we're fun too, share it with a friend. And please make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a future episode. You can also find more about Executive Financial Group on YouTube and Facebook. As always, we're so grateful that you chose to spend time with us and hope you'll come back again soon.
The opinions expressed by Stephen Sabo and guests on this podcast are their own and do not reflect the opinions of this podcast station. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Past performance cannot be used as an indicator to determine future results. Any strategies mentioned may not be suitable for everyone. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. Before acting on any information mentioned, please consult with a qualified tax or investment advisor to determine if it is suitable for for your specific situation. This program is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to subject covered. Investment advisory services offered through Virtue Capital Management, LLC, VCM, a registered investment advisor. VCM and Executive Financial Group are independent of each other. Pennsylvania Insurance License number 670429. Any guarantees mentioned are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Stephen Sabo and/or Executive Financial Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.